Hi, my name's Terry Hauschel. We're here to talk a little bit this afternoon about trail cameras. The camera we're going to look at right now is the Cuddeback Capture digital trail camera. Nice little compact unit. The actual dimensions of this camera are probably as small as any camera we're going to find on the market that does a nice job. You can see it's probably about 5.5 inches wide. As far as the depth of the camera goes, a little over 2 inches from the tree to the surface of the camera. This particular camera has a textured surface. It's supposed to resemble bark. It's kind of a brownish gray color. In all honesty, I'm not certain how important that is. I don't think wildlife necessarily evaluates the textured surface, but it is a nice feature and it looks good. A little thumb screw here at the bottom allows us to open the door on the camera. And one thing nice about this camera that many of us take for granted, if you've done much work with trail cameras, you know in the field you constantly fight the door flopping down. This particular camera has a little slide bar that goes across, pulls the door open, which makes it real easy to use out in the field. As we look at this camera, operates on 4D cells, slide right in here, uses a standard SD card, which again is very common in most cameras, and it's great as far as in the field. What we like to do is put an SD card in the system, and then when you go out to check your photos, you just take a second SD card along and switch the SD cards out. And you can leave the camera mounted, change the cards very rapidly, and again, it's easy to dispose of pictures because they're all digital. This particular product touts the 5 minutes to master the capture. We found in looking at this, they're probably not too far off. This has to be probably one of the easiest trail cameras to use. As you look down at the bottom, it's pretty small. We'll try and zoom in on that. There's a little dial here at the bottom that goes from off, and as we cycle it around, helps us. It's the settings to set the time, the date, and so forth, and just two little buttons here to run those up and down. And as we cycle that little knob on around, you can see we can adjust everything from 30 seconds up to about 30 minutes of delay. We would use the shorter delays, for example, on a trail where there's animals going by, and that's where the hair trigger feature comes in handy, which we'll talk about a little later. That's a feature Cuddeback offers on this particular model that enables it to take pictures relatively quickly after the camera is cycled on. Some key features on this camera that we don't see on some of its competitors. It's a true 3 megapixel camera, which is very helpful when it comes time to sorting through your photos and keeping things. And if you do see that once in a lifetime buck on there, you can actually go ahead and enlarge it and have a decent and respectable photo to keep. Another thing that's nice about this little Cuddeback is that it takes color pictures both day and night. It has a pretty strong flash. We're supposed to get 50 feet out of the flash. Again, we've not necessarily measured that firsthand in the field, but have no reason to doubt that it wouldn't do that. Again, we mentioned the hair trigger earlier. Just want to mention that again. For those of you that do a lot of trail camera work, we know how frustrating it is when we get those dry pictures or those open pictures where something's walked by and actually triggered the camera, but by the time the camera makes the exposure, the animal's completely out of sight. Another thing Cuddeback offers with this system is they say we can get 2,000 photos per set of battery. That's pretty good as well, certainly better than some of the other products in the market. If I had to mention one thing about this camera that probably sets it apart from the others, that would be size and the ease of setup. The 5-minute master the capture is really pretty doggone close. Probably one of the easiest systems you'll ever use. On the negative side, the Cuddeback is a little more expensive than some of its competitive models, but some people would argue the fact that it's probably worth the extra money. If you have questions about the Cuddeback or you'd like to order one, probably the most cost-effective way to come up with this is go to our friends out at trailhunting.com. They have great systems. They have a tremendous guarantee that you're not going to find anywhere else in the industry. So again, I'd recommend you go out to trailhunting.com and take a look. Excited to try this. We'll have a follow-up video of mounting this out in the field and letting you know how it works. Thanks a lot.